Imagine Sarah, a diligent professional in her late 20s. She's always been a worrier about work, relationships, making mistakes. On Friday nights, she pours herself a glass of wine to take the edge off. It seems harmless. Over time, the glass becomes 2, then 3. Some nights she notices a creeping tightness in her chest or restless nights. She wonders, is my drinking making my anxiety worse? This story isn't rare. Many people quietly spiral into a cycle where anxiety and alcohol feed each other. In this video, we'll explore the hidden connection between alcohol and anxiety, what research reveals, how the cycle develops, and what one can do about it. Decades of psychological and epidemiological research show a strong overlap between anxiety disorders and problematic alcohol use. People with anxiety disorders are more likely to develop alcohol use disorder, AUD, and people with AUD often have co-occurring anxiety symptoms. But correlation doesn't mean simple cause and effect. Scholars generally consider 3 broad models of how they interrelate: self-medication, anxiety, alcohol. People with chronic anxiety use alcohol to relieve their distress. Alcohol. Anxiety. Chronic alcohol use leads to neurobiological changes, withdrawal or stress reactivity that foster anxiety. Shared vulnerabilities. Third factor, genetic, developmental or environmental risk factors predispose someone to both. In truth, the relationship is bidirectional. Each side can trigger or worsen the other, producing a vicious cycle. Why alcohol feels calming, and why that's deceptive. A. Short-term relief, long-term debt. Alcohol is a depressant. In the short term, it can increase the activity of GABA, an inhibitory neurotransmitter, dampening neural excitability and creating a feeling of calm. That's one reason people feel more relaxed for a little while after drinking. But this relief is deceptive. As alcohol wears off, the brain rebounds. Excitatory systems, such as glutamate, become more active, and the balance tilts back the other way. This rebound can lead to overarousal, jitteriness, restlessness, and anxiety. Moreover, repeated exposure to alcohol causes neuroadaptations. The nervous system adjusts. Over time, more alcohol is needed to achieve the same calming effect, tolerance, and withdrawal or abstinence now triggers heightened anxiety. B. Stress systems and HPA axis. Chronic alcohol use can dysregulate the body's stress response system, the HPA axis. Over time, baseline stress hormones like cortisol may shift, making individuals more reactive to stressors and more prone to anxiety. C. Brain networks and connectivity. Recent neuroimaging studies show that alcohol use can disrupt functional connectivity among brain networks involved in emotional regulation, threat detection, and salience processing. In other words, alcohol can weaken the neural architecture that helps manage anxiety. The cycle illustrated, how it plays out over time. Let's return to Sarah. Baseline anxiety. Sarah has persistent worry and social unease. First drink. She notices a mild calming effect, fewer intrusive thoughts. They feel suppressed. Repetition. On stressful days, she turns to alcohol more often. She begins to rely on it to relax. Tolerance builds. Over weeks or months, she needs more to get the same effect. The calm is fleeting. Withdrawal and rebound. On mornings or days, she doesn't drink. She feels more anxious, edgy, sleepless. Emotional risk. To escape those rebound feelings, she drinks again. Anxiety, drinking, intolerance, the cycle intensifies. In some people, anxiety may have preceded alcohol use, while in others, problem drinking may have triggered anxiety vulnerabilities. Either way, once the cycle forms, it reinforces itself. For individuals with social anxiety disorder, SAD, the connection is particularly important. Many socially anxious people use alcohol as a social lubricant to reduce awkwardness, blushing, or fear in social settings. But research shows that this coping strategy backfires. Drinking to manage social anxiety is associated with higher risk of negative alcohol consequences, injuries, blackouts, dependency. Treating social anxiety symptoms, for example with SSRIs, can reduce the motivation to drink socially, though it doesn't always reduce overall drinking quantity on its own. The laboratory literature shows mixed results. Some experiments support tension reduction, others show moderation by context, and some show no effect. Thus, for socially anxious individuals, alcohol feels like a shortcut, but it often deepens the trouble. Recent evidence, longitudinal and global perspectives. A 2025 study across 52 high-income countries examined how alcohol consumption patterns relate to anxiety prevalence over time. It suggests that frequent heavy drinking uniquely contributes to elevated anxiety symptoms, beyond what would be expected from baseline anxiety rates. Another systematic review looked at long-term effects of alcohol on anxiety and found that persistent drinking, especially heavier patterns, is associated with worsening anxiety trajectories. These newer findings reinforce the idea that while people may start drinking to ease tension, over time that behavior can carve neural and psychological pathways that worsen anxiety rather than heal it. Why it's so hard to escape. Cross-tolerance and dependence. The brain becomes habituated. Stopping triggers rebound anxiety. Motivational sensitization. Negative mood states gain motivational weight, pushing toward alcohol use. Behavioral conditioning. Drinking becomes associated with relief cues, e.g., after a stressful day, I drink. Self-fulfilling cycles. Anxiety symptoms worsen, which leads to more drinking, which causes more anxiety. A self-reinforcing loop. Diagnostic confusion. Because anxiety symptoms may overlap with withdrawal states, clinicians sometimes delay diagnosing anxiety disorder until after a period of abstinence. Breaking free insights and strategies. While the cycle is powerful, there is hope. Here are evidence-informed strategies and guiding principles. A. Awareness and psychoeducation. Helping someone understand that alcohol is not a true remedy, it's a short-term fix with long-term costs, is the first step. B. Treat the root anxiety. Therapies such as cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, exposure-based social anxiety treatments, mindfulness, or acceptance-based approaches can help address underlying anxiety without needing alcohol. In some cases, pharmacotherapy, e.g. SSRIs prescribed for anxiety, may reduce the urge to self-medicate, although by itself it may not wholly eliminate the alcohol habit. C. Harm reduction and moderation. If abstinence feels too abrupt, a moderated approach with close monitoring can be a transitional path. Reducing frequency or quantity can still help disrupt the cycle and alleviate physiological stress on the brain. D. Behavioral substitutions and coping skills. Introduce healthier alternatives for calming the nervous system. Deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, regular exercise, yoga, creative practices, journaling, social support, therapy, peer groups. E. Pharmacological aids for withdrawal anxiety. In more severe cases, medical support may be necessary when quitting alcohol to manage protracted withdrawal anxiety symptoms. Relapse prevention and follow-up recovery isn't linear. Awareness of high-risk situations, building coping resources, and sustaining support networks are essential. And here's the most crucial point. People struggling with this often blame themselves, believing they lack willpower or are weak. But the science tells a different story. Sarah's struggles aren't a sign of weakness. They're a sign of a complex interplay between brain, body, and environment. As professionals and as friends, our role is to guide, support, and treat with understanding, not judge. I hope this video helped you. Please share it with anyone who might find it valuable. Together, we can spread awareness and help those caught in this cycle. I'd also love to hear your experiences or questions. Leave them in the comments below. I'm committed to making mental health insights more accessible. Thanks for joining me on this journey. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, take care.